E.G.O. If there's anything I'd have to define as Project Moon's most iconic creation, it's abnormalities and ego. I've created a Project Moon tabletop RPG, and I've had understandably mixed reactions on how I've handled ego in the system. Today, I'm going to run you through my thought process in why I did ego this way, and talk about how you can integrate ego into the story of your campaign. First off, I used the E.G.O system from Limbus Company, a big attack that gives a passive after use. Lore-wise, this system of using E.G.O as a singular large attack is only used by Limbus, and a similar version in the library. Most of the time when E.G.O appears, it's as E.G.O equipment. The factions we know can use it are LobCorp, the LCE, and N-Corp. Though we've seen that other groups can hijack old LobCorp branches as well. So why did I go with this system? Simple. It fit the mechanics, it's familiar, and it's fun. There would always be some dissonance between lore and gameplay, and I couldn't make something so important an optional mechanic without gutting it. But what about the narrative? How are you supposed to fit E.G.O into your story? Honestly, I think it's quite simple. There are plenty of ways you can integrate it, either as a big focus or as a subplot. The first option is to have the first mission begin as an exploration of an old LobCorp branch facility. I assume your first session is already going to be a big inciting incident, so what better way to show your character's introduction to the deeper mysteries of the city than to start with the discovery of E.G.O. Another option is partnership with one of the major E.G.O-wielding factions, like Limbus or N-Corp. The partnered faction will take the eggs of defeated abnormalities and give some experimental E.G.O in exchange. This is a better option for those who want E.G.O to be a notable part of the story, but not a main focus. If you don't want E.G.O from abnormalities, but still want E.G.O as a whole, you could use distortions and/or E.G.O users as a source of E.G.O. Maybe your characters find a mysterious device or artifact that allows this accumulation of E.G.O from others. Finally, if you don't want E.G.O at all, but still want the mechanics, you can adapt E.G.O into special techniques obtained from major enemies. At the end of the day, I think the most important thing is that each new move learned reflects the ordeals you overcame, so that every attack you unleash calls back to a previous step on your journey. What about personal E.G.O manifestation? The base E.G.O gained at level 2 is meant to represent a brief manifestation of personal E.G.O, but if you want a big, heroic moment of manifestation, I say, hell yeah! The exact narrative nature of manifestation is up to the story you want to tell, but in terms of mechanics, there's a couple of options. If you're close to a major or minor improvement, you could simply take an egoist ability as your benefit. Or, if your GM is willing to homebrew a bit, you could get some sort of benefit to your base E.G.O. Or just give you a new ability outright. Of course, if the GM is giving out handouts, they should be given to all players over the course of the campaign, whether they be E.G.O related or not. Keep things fair and all. As a final note, if you want to have E.G.O equipment, I recommend flavoring it as part of your character build. You might be able to get some weird homebrew modules, though, if you want to spice things up. That's all for this week. Skill creation will be next weekend. The Discord server is going well, by the way. Feel free to hop over if you feel like chatting about the system and sharing content. I've also set up a Ko-Fi for anyone who wants to leave me a small tip. I don't expect much, but every dollar helps justify me spending more time on the system and these videos. Donate as much or as little as you feel like, just let me know if there are any payment issues. That's all for now. See you soon!